Back in 2010, writer Jonathan Mayberry and artist Goran Parlov came together to write their third installment of the Marvel Universe Versus series. This is Marvel Universe versus the Punisher. It's basically Omega Man / I Am Legend, except instead of the weird mutant people trying to live their lives in their own little society while some asshole keeps killing them, they're just insane cannibalistic tribals. The book starts off with Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, making his way through a destroyed New York City, when suddenly, a little yellow text balloon appears. And if you're familiar with a certain Marvel comic book character, you'll know this is none other than Deadpool. It's revealed that for some reason, Frank has been hunting down Deadpool, and Frank finally found him, for the 33rd time. Deadpool is revealed to be an even more hideous than usual monster. He tries to sneak up on Frank, but Frank just shoots him, chops him up, and then buries his body parts throughout the city. We get some exposition by Frank. Something has happened to this world, obviously. In a flashback, we see Spider-Man and the Rhino battle through the city and into a hockey game. After beating the shit out of the Rhino, Spider-Man somehow rips through Rhino's armor and begins eating him, exclaiming, "Mine! Mine! Yes, mate! It's mine!" The Fantastic Four show up and defeat and capture Spidey. Then the Blob ate an entire restaurant of people. After this, the world begins to crumble. School children eating people, the women on The View attacking the audience, Daredevil's shown killing some nuns. You get the idea. It's revealed that Frank has been waging a war against the cannibals for 4 years. Then we learn that Frank has been searching for someone named Zero, who leads the largest tribe. Zero's smarter than the other cannibals and has been setting traps for Frank. Frank gives the reader some more exposition about why he isn't infected. Basically, once upon a time, Frank was gonna kill some mafia goons selling weapons down at the docks. Frank kills everyone, causing vials of green stuff that the goons had in their pockets to splash all over Frank. We learned that this green virus stuff is called Survivor 118, and since Frank got so much of it on to himself, he's now immune to it. Then, the virus got into the ecosystem, but it took 7 months for the effects to take place. Back in the present, Frank finds an uninfected body that Zero had clearly left the Punisher to find. This is where Frank learns that there are still other survivors out there. A couple weeks later, Frank is fighting a cannibalistic tribal-leading Hulk. Punisher lets us know that years ago, when the world was still ending, Wolverine fought the Hulk again and carved him up, but alas, Logan was defeated, and now the Hulk wears his hand as a necklace. Then Frank shoots an arrow into Hulk's eye, and basically it kills him because it penetrates his fucking brain. He's dead. Hulk's out of the picture. He's dead. Suddenly, a cry for help is heard. Frank is led to a church where cries come from like a hole that's in the middle of the floor for some reason. Inside the hole are a priest and a boy. Anyway, Venom suddenly appears because it's a church and Venom, why not? Frank kills him and saves the priest and the boy. All of a sudden, a bunch of cannibals attack, but Frank blows them up. The priest tells us a story, and in the flashback, we see that he saved Mary Jane and Aunt May by killing a cannibalistic Norman and Harry Osborn. Back at Frank's hideout, Frank and the priest talk while the little boy sleeps, but then a familiar voice comes calling out to Frank. Deadpool appears outside with a message for him. The message? There are more survivors. Frank crucifies Deadpool on some table outside and interrogates him. Deadpool tells Frank about the group of uninfected, and that Zero wants to talk with Frank. Oh, and also that Zero is already there. Frank walks back inside to find none other than... Dun, dun, dun! A giant, muscular, cannibal Spider-Man. Yep, Spider-Man is the big bad tribal leader called Zero. Also, he strung up the priest and the boy, and he's threatening to eat him. We learn that the tribes that were kicked out of New York and left have returned. Zero tells Frank about a battle between Red Hulk, the Thing, and the uninfected in the final days of the world. Apparently, someone was a puppet master, pulling the strings of the cannibals. Oh, and in the last battle for humanity, Iron Man's suit shut down on him, leaving him locked in a tin prison. Stark screamed for 5 whole days. Now his sarcophagus armor gets shit on by seagulls. Months after that, the King of Death destroyed and assimilated most of the remaining tribes. Back in the present, Zero tells Frank that the King of Death has returned, killed most of his tribe, and stole his mate, along with more uninfected that Zero had just sitting around, I guess. Frank and Zero make a deal. Deal basically being Frank kills the King of Death, saves Zero's mate, and Frank gets the survivors and is allowed to leave Manhattan with them. And then later, Frank's like, he can fuck off, I'm not doing that shit. But after a speech by the priest, Frank realizes that he has to go save the survivors. On the way, Frank runs into a wacky bunch of cannibals. Deadpool, Black Widow, and Scorpion. They were sent by Zero to be Frank's backup. Finally, the group makes it to the King of Death's lair and find who they are looking for. Zero's red-headed mate, along with, other random fucking survivors. Frank kills the 4 guards, and if you're wondering who they are, it's Toad, Blob, Guido, aka Strong Guy, and fucking Whiplash. Then a metric fuck ton of cannibals suddenly appear from the surrounding buildings and attack Frank and his friends. A battle ensues, and holy shit! What? Look at what Sandman did to Scorpion! Jesus Christ! What? That would suck! Oh my god! That sand! It's so coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere! Then Frank tosses a couple of grenades at the cannibals and blows them the fuck up. Frank gets to the survivors, and it is revealed that Zero's mate is none other than Mary Jane Watson. Big shock, I know, right? Also, she's uninfected, pregnant, and wearing a sexy tribal outfit. Then Frank is thrown to the ground by the King of Death, who is revealed to be Kingpin. So Frank gets the shit kicked out of him by Kingpin before he gets attacked by Sauron and is knocked unconscious. Back home, the priest and the boy sit huddled in a corner in terror, wondering if Frank will come back, and if they should try to save him. Frank awakens on a bed frame, and Kingpin demands Frank tells him where Zero's tribe is. Frank spits in his face and is tortured. Outside the camp, the priest and the boy show up, armed to the teeth. They immediately get captured. Inside the weird torture room, MJ grabs a knife off of a cannibal and puts it to her throat, threatening to kill herself and the baby if Frank tells them anything. And again, meanwhile, down in the dungeons now, Deadpool is in like a prison cell, I guess? Where the fuck are these people anyway? Are they in a police station or something? Anyway, Deadpool is in a cell and he's talking to a sort of peanut-shaped Red Skull. Red Skull threatens to eat Deadpool but is killed, allowing Deadpool to escape and get a fuckload of guns. Upstairs, again, Kingpin grabs the knife from MJ and Deadpool drops the big bag of guns in front of Frank. Deadpool attacks and MJ frees Frank. Frank blows everyone up and then starts filling cannibals with lead. Kingpin tries to monologue, but Frank shoots him in the head. Hey, that rhymed. Back in Manhattan, MJ and Zero are reunited. The uninfected are saved, and Frank is congratulated for committing to his part of the deal. Everyone's happy. The end. Just kidding. Frank just shoots Zero right in the head, killing him immediately. Frank sets the 68 uninfected on rafts and sends them out of Manhattan, because this isn't a place for the weak. This place can't be healed. This is a place for killers. For monsters. The end.